Hi everyone, it's Kevin, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to practice NMM aka non-metallic metal. So what I decided is to go on my mini factory. I type for armor, I choose one that I wanted to try to paint on and print it. So the idea is to print what you need and what you want. So in my case I want to practice non-metallic metal. I try to do it on an armor. If you want to do it on weapon, axes, sword, anything, you can print something else. Let's say you want to practice like cloth or texture, you can print a model with a lot of cape and like, I don't know, robes or stuff like this. And yeah, that's the idea. The good part about the 3D printer, you print what you want and what you need. So in that case, I just want to practice something special. So let's print this one. It's from Denis Maljoan. Let's go. Okay, so here we're in Litchi. I'm trying to use the software a little bit more. I like it. It's pretty easy to do a lot of support, so it's nice to change a little bit from G2Box. For the model, what I've done, I've fused all the model together, like the shoulders and the head. I mean, the helmet was separate, so I don't need anything fancy. I need something simple and practical. So I went ahead, I've fused all the parts together, and then I'm just gonna support everything around. The good thing with Litchi, for example, it's really easy to add a lot of tiny support. So all those tiny details hanging around, I'm just gonna add support really quickly and then branch with all those tiny ones here. And it's gonna be enough for me for later. Okay, so I have my bust printed in one piece. I have the base as well. It's gonna be on top. I have some cleanup to do. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not gonna try to make everything perfect as well. My front part is mostly clean, so that's what's gonna matter. And I'm just gonna train on it. The important part is gonna be to prime in black and take a picture. So I'm gonna have a reference picture, and then I'm gonna paint the highlight and the picture. So I'm gonna show you this when I'm gonna start painting, and we're gonna try to make it happen. Let's go. Okay, so here I start to apply the light source. I have two pictures, one when it was prime in matte on the left, and then I apply gloss varnish and it's on the right. As you can see, the picture, they're not really helping. I think like the huge part, like the pectoral, the part on top, the light is okay to check, but every tiny detail after, like near the abs and things like this, the picture didn't really help. I took different angle, different light, the strengths and everything, and every time it didn't really help me that much. So I was like, okay, the goal was to use the picture a lot, but in this case I'm like, I choose the wrong model. Maybe I should have went simpler. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna use the reflection from the model when you're painting. I'm just gonna look at it and use the reflection that I see, and I'm gonna try to just have the artistic way just like help me as well. For example, as you can see, the light, I got inspired by the picture and the normal reflection, but I'm using the paint to like accentuate the normal light, I guess, and change the direction a little bit. So here I'm using only black and white. I'm smoothing around after going roughly around the bust. I'm smoothing some parts where I'm gonna work a bit more in detail. It's a lot on back and forth. White is a bit annoying to play with. Even with some ink, sometimes it's not really that easy. It's a bit dirty, so it's annoying. But here the result was fine. The goal was not to be perfect. It was mostly to get the light in the right place. So I'm like, okay, I'll smooth a bit. I'm gonna have some edge highlighting. The strongest highlight here, it's mostly like strokes. Not really smooth. I want it to be really bright. I don't thin the white as well to get a bit more punch. And I'm just painting, and then I'm like, okay, let's see how is it. And here, for example, looking back at it, I think it's fine. Like you can look at it and be like, yeah, this can be an armor with the light here, but it's not perfect and it's not realistic, I think. Maybe if I would have moved the light a bit more on the left and added some other reflection, I could have been a bit more realistic, but in that case, like I said, the picture was not really good, so I just went with like the more like artistic way. And on the right side here, I'm just using some cold gray. I'm like, okay, let's try to add a tiny bit of color just to see what the change for it. So the reflection is almost the same. I'm just playing with cold gray a little bit, some blue and some brown. I switch on the back here. The panels are a bit tiny as well here, but it's a good practice again. So I went ahead, I've used the same technique. I look at the picture, it didn't really help. So I went ahead and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna try to figure it out. Here I'm putting some highlight on top of the panel, some of them under, and try to see how it is. And I was not really happy with it. I think half the bottom part of the armor was fine, but the middle panel, I was not really happy with the direction of the reflection. So here I went again with the cold gray. I'm like, okay, here let's add a lot of color and see how is it. But mostly the goal was to change the direction of the light and see what I could get compared to the first try. So basically on the left, it's like, okay, first try, how is it? And then on the right, it's like, okay, let's do a second test. Let's have some different light and see if it's better or not. So after messing around a little bit, doing my highlight, here I'm finishing with edge highlighting. And as you can see, for example, the round panel here is a bit better compared to the other side. I spend more time on it, but mostly because the light is a bit, it's in a better place compared to the other panels. Okay, so training some non-metallic metal and painting the armor is done. So like the model is not finished, but the training, so to speak, is done. It was fine, like it was pretty boring, let's be honest, just training for the sake of training. I don't like it, but I'm always a bit intimidated to start non-metallic metal. I'm not sure about the render, so I didn't try a huge amount of style. I've went over quickly, I've tried different type, different color. Nothing is perfect, but I think I still improved a little bit, so it's not a bad idea to print stuff that you need and then train on it, try some new techniques. There's a lot to make about this. For me personally, I don't think it's the best thing. Like I would probably maybe sometimes take back the model, maybe prime over and try one panel only and just see if I can make it better than previously. But I don't really like training. I like to make the stuff. I like the end result. The creative process is always a bit more like, it's more fun, to be honest. So it was cool to try, and maybe for some of you sometimes it's cool to print and just train really like specific technique on each model. I keep some other bits sometimes. For example, last time I've made Inosuke, I've tried some stuff and the head didn't fit, but I still kept some parts. Here I have the head of Wonder Woman that I made a long time ago. So even if the print fell or something you don't like about it, most of the time I keep the bits around, and if you want to try some stuff on it, you can. For example, you can try the skin on this one, trying to paint hair on this one. And it's not a bad idea. Instead of just throwing away some stuff, you just keep it and try some stuff on it. So that's a pro tips for you here. And if you enjoyed the video, see you next time. It will be better, I promise, because this video is probably not that good. Bye.